We were a band's band. To have influence like that, I think, is really good.
You spend a lot of time putting on a show while you're keeping hidden other aspects of your life.
Especially the incomplete picture of yourself.
It took us so long to grow up.
What's the rush?
Yeah, I've been sold.
My show is out of the ordinary. Vegetarian, straight, gay, whatever. I just wanted to bring those walls down and have a party.
He brought his whole crew. Marty brought his crew to see the show, and he immediately said he wanted to film it. And then they hung out till about midnight. You know, we shut the place down while he was trying to talk David into letting him film it.
I was reluctant because, you know how, like, Charlie Patton would never go into the studio to make a record because he didn't want people to steal his act. Yeah. It was kind of like one of those deals. And I figured, you know, if it's on TV, then it's like this show is over, you know. So, thank God though, it was filmed because then COVID came like soon after that, and now I don't want to do that show anymore. I'm going to do a new show, you know.
And David, it's great that you co-directed this, and I noticed you edited the film, and the use of archival footage is so important and so beautiful. It really like helps pull the story forward. And so I'm wondering what it was like to go through all of this and how you were choosing the clips that you found, and what was inspiring you to tell the story in that way.
Well, the thing is, we were, you know, from my point of view, Mara had called and invited us to come to the show. So we went to the show. And I'd seen David perform many times. And for me, this was it was a completely new experience. The show was different from anything, and you see the show, but it was different from anything that I had seen before. We were both very moved. And we realized we have to do something with this. We have to film it. After we put it together and we looked at it, we knew that whenever you film something, it loses something in the translation. And our goal was just to, with the archival, whether it's archival of the New York Dolls or David in Super 8 or Maria Callas, we knew that, or Charles Ludlam, we wanted to recreate the feeling that we had at the end of that show, and to be faithful to what the intention of the show was. And I think that's what we do, because you can cut back and forth between David singing trash at different points, or personality crisis, or Frenchette, and it's still, it just opens it up, and it gives it more life, but it's still this show.
Leah, it's really interesting, obviously this idea was conceived before the pandemic, and then cut to 2 months later, we're in a lockdown. But I think there's something so tender and beautiful about the conversations that you're having with David in a very personal space. And so what was that like for you to kind of get him to talk to you and tell you stories? Because I really think it's different than if it would have been, the other directors working with him. So do you want to speak a little bit to that?
Oh yeah. I mean, David is a very difficult interview subject. David, I remember years ago when I was doing an interview for something, he told me, you have to write your responses first, and then no matter what they ask you, you just read your responses. And I was like, that's a great idea. And then when you're actually interviewing someone, you realize how just like lifeless and frustrating that is, So David kind of has his prepared, Cohen, like Zen kind of like statements about things, and then to get him to do more than that is tricky. And I think that what was really cool about the process was that when we started, when these guys asked me to start doing interviews, it was under the auspices of like research. Like they didn't say go in there and film the stuff and the film is going to be largely interviews. It was kind of like, how do we keep working on this film under these conditions? And how do we use what's available? And what's available is like my time, my willingness, David's around, his like slight willingness, and so so I was just going in and kind of like getting like background material and just trying to like give them more information about David and like getting him to talk. It was more like a investigation, like a like a crime, like a criminal investigation, like trying to get him to go on the record, And but what was cool was that even though it was this very high stress situation because it was locked down, so everyone's cortisol levels were just like through the roof, we were all just stressed. And it was also I was using the camera I was given was on settings that you couldn't delete anything that was shot. So I would be shooting like myself trying to focus the camera or getting the exposure right, or me talking about how inept I was, and then I'd be like, fuck, like there's Scorsese and Alan Kuras, they're all gonna see this, they're all gonna know I'm an idiot, So it was like high pressure in a way, and I was by myself, and I did all the sound and the, setting the camera up and the lighting, which I hadn't done since I was like in college, like one-man film band.
I mean, I
Thank
haven't
you.
seen anyone do that before. Like that really.
College students do it all the time.
College students generally have one person on camera and one person on sound.
Not if they're a control freak. Not if they're me. I always did that in college, and so I went back, but and I made mistakes. But what was cool was that I didn't think what's in this frame is going to be up on the big screen. I thought it was kind of background material, and so I wasn't so concerned about making sure it was on the tripod or I was just like, let me just get this footage. And it was so moving to see some of the really casual stuff, some of the most kind of intimate, off-the-cuff moments are what ended up in the film. And it's just like been an amazing opportunity, as the mediation creates a uncanny kind of intimacy that's really that's unique.
Yeah, it's really special in that way, and I feel like Mara, you're like the glue that kind of holds everyone together and that pushes things through. You're a force, and it's incredible. And so, I'd love for you to maybe speak to how you kind of got this all going and the work that you've been doing for it and producing it.
Literally and figuratively. I've spent a lot of time being the muse, being the one the amanuensis, the one who helped other people realize their projects, their dreams. It's kind of in the story of my life. So for me, I was really committed to it. It was it was a vision. It wasn't so much my vision, but I've learned that asking for help is really key to my life. So I asked for help, and I happened to ask the right guy for help. And then I saw how he had this whole system. David Tedeschi is a brilliantly talented, erudite, philosophical, charming, hardworking guy. But he's one of many Scorsese has this group of people around him who are all so smart and hardworking and talented and passionate. And I was like, hi, can I be friends with you guys? And they helped. And it was a real collaborative group effort. And for me, a woman of a certain age, I know I lied to the New Yorker. Okay? All right? A lot of you here know that I lied to the New Yorker, okay?
Bringing Ellen Kuras in was remarkable because Ellen doesn't really, great director of photography, but she's directing now. She doesn't really shoot anymore. And to see Ellen, we shot, one day rehearsal, 2 nights of the performance, and talk about schlep, like a 40-pound camera that she makes look like it's 5 pounds. Yeah. Almost every handheld shot you see in the movie is hers. She's just moving around constantly and changing the angle and somehow finding a new way to capture the performance. I think that speaks to it. And she wanted to do it for Marty, but she also wanted to do it for David. She loved the show.
I've been reading a lot of interviews, and Martin Scorsese speaks about how inspired he's been by your music and how you've inspired a lot of the soundtracks, and he's been paying attention to you from the 70s. And when you think about it, David, you really are one of the most important frontmen that have ever appeared, and you changed music, really, for everyone, and you changed the way that you could perform and be brave and courageous. And it's what I love about this documentary is because you get to see the evolution of yourself as an artist. You were just a young kid that showed up here and had a dream, and then you've gotten to make it. And what I also love about the Carlisle show is, you know, not every frontman is funny and can be a storyteller and tell jokes, and all of you is just so wonderful, and it's just great to watch. So I'd love for you to maybe speak about that and what your own journey has been.
Good luck.
Well, I come from poor but simple parents. You know, I think, you know, at this time, like this week, I feel like validated as an artist, but I'm sure that'll pass. Next week it'll be, you know, back on your head, buddy. But yeah, you know, I've known Marty over the years, and we're very cordial with each other. I did some tunes for his Boardwalk Empire series, those old-timey songs, which I like to sing a little bit. You know, I could do that. And I mean, I don't know, you know, I don't, all those beautiful things you said about me, I kind of know them, but I don't really. I just kind of like, I don't really dwell on that so much, you know, like changing the music or your effect on the culture or things of that nature, you know, because usually I'm just like trying to be like creative and do the next thing and love my family and try to get a little exercise in, you know. Just things like that, you know. This week, you know, like there's been like a lot of reviews that have been very positive, and I'll start reading them, but then by the time I get through a few of them, I'll be like, all right, that's enough of that, because I'm looking actually for someone who has a beef with me so I can get down in the dirt. But I don't know, I'm having a very pleasant time this week, you know, and Leah and Mara and me, we're a good team, you know. It works out very nicely with us.
Yeah.
So.
I think that's what's also so cool is, while you're so wildly creative, it's so nice to see the family aspect in it and how you all kind of take care of each other and love one another, because I think that's really rare in this time. And so that's really special that it's highlighted in this film too.
I think that's mostly my doing. These two, she's very mean.
What is that?
She's actually kind of mean. And he's really rather self-centered. So I think it's really my doing that kind of keeps this thing up.
You are the glue. No, you know, I think the whole family is very kind of creative, you know. We're all kind of into lots of different things artistically, you know.
I'll just say we're going on and on, but I'll just say I think that what was really nice about this is that it was this very, you can't say very unique, that's grammatically incorrect. It was this unique situation where we were each asked to do the thing that we were really good at. So we each got to do our thing really well. And like I had, you know, I had like a very specific role that I could do really well, and you had a lot of different roles that you could do really well, and like David got to kind of like
I didn't really have to do anything.
You got to like get up on stage and sing, and then you got to like sit on the couch, you know, and like Mara got to talk to everyone and build all these relationships, and I got to like look in a camera and be controlling and talk, you know. So it was like we each got to do our thing, and I think that that's what I love about film, is the delegation and is the like, you know, the breakdown of the labor, and it's like giving people jobs that they can do really well, and if everyone is like in their own lane. So it wasn't like this like big family kumbaya thing where we all like hung out and said like, let's all tell David's story. Like we were all like laser focused on our thing. And I was like, I don't care about any of this stuff. Like I just am trying to like, I have a camera, and like, you know, like I didn't care about any of that stuff. And I was just like mad at you guys for not letting me film more and do more of my thing. And so yes, it is this like beautiful story about family, but it was very much like a production team, you know, and that's, I think it's a good lesson. Moving forward as a family, I think it's like a really good lesson for us. Like let everyone do what they're good at, you know?
It was not like chill on the set with Leah in charge. No. It was not chill with Leah in charge there.
No, I think, you know, I just as the interpreter, I think that what David is often saying is that, you know, there's that beautiful moment in the film where he talks about beaming it up, and instead of and it's kind of oblique in the movie, but we've talked about it more, and I think that the idea is, the devotional aspect is, it's not, the film isn't preaching directly at anyone. It's not saying this is the story. It's not, and I think this is a lot of your genius, other David, is it's this poetic logic. It's this free associative thing. It doesn't have an agenda. It doesn't have a strong thesis. You know, it's like, it's slippery what it's saying, and it's not going directly at you and saying, this is how you should feel about the movie, and this is what you should take away from it. It's kind of beaming it up to some other sphere, and then some stuff is like trickling down to people watching it. And I think it's I think it's like this movement, and I think that is what is devotional about it, and it's not so directly manipulative like a lot of documentaries, a lot of good documentaries are.
I wish I had said this before Leah said that, because that's actually the most important point overall. But I did want to say, you know, it part of it has to do with, you know, why do you make a documentary film? What is documentary film? And I think we have this very basic impulse, Scorsese and me, that you want to document certain things, whether it's, you know, Fran Lebowitz or the New York Review of Books, David Johansen. It's like you have these experiences, and they're part of who you are, where you are, what the culture is, your generation, how you see the world. And so I think that's one of the reasons we were so moved by this, is that we were very familiar with David's work, and yet there were all these new things that then, of course, we're very sensitive to stories also. But there were all these new things that I didn't know and that were so beautiful. And I think there was a sense, it is just a movie. I don't know how people will ever look at it. But for us, making a movie is, you know, it's like writing a song. It's what we want to do. It's an impulse.
Mm.